Young people in politics isn't always a match made in heaven, but could social media be proving the unlikely matchmaker? Charlie, you're responsible for most of the youth-focused research here at Demos. Can you tell me, do you think that young people are actually becoming more politically engaged now?
I think what we found is that young people are more and more engaged in social and political issues. We see that with people sharing stuff online and even getting involved in offline activism for various causes. What that hasn't translated to yet is people engaging in the formal political system.
What would you say is the role of social media in helping to create political engagement?
What we see among the sort of most forward-looking politicians is actually using social media to do casework. So things like when one of their constituents has a problem, they actually use social media to talk about it. If you complain to your MP on Twitter, everyone can see that you're complaining, and so that can be really powerful, I think.
I wanted to ask you, when was the first time that you got involved in politics?
Somebody came into my school and said, do you want to do a social action project? Was the point where I then realised I was interested in politics, because I realised helping people was connected to politics, because that's all politics is.
What other political issues are there that young people should be aware of?
Right now, young people are really, really angry. There are thousands of young people unemployed. We have a system of education that isn't fit for purpose, and that will definitely be carried over to the next election. At the British Youth Council, what they aim to do is give a voice for young people to be heard and represented at the decision-making tables. And what's interesting is that some of these issues, they don't even cost that much money to society to implement. They actually benefit society. When the British Youth Council ran a consultation with a bunch of young people, and they said that they wanted was first aid in schools. And if we look at the issue of first aid in schools, we think, okay, well maybe it's costly implementing it. But when you look at it in more detail, you realise no, it will actually save money in the NHS. Other countries have done similar systems. It's been fantastic and it's saved lives. So things that young people are recommending, things that young people know to be right, are really true. Why don't we hear this from decision makers? Why don't we hear politicians saying these things and implementing these policies?
Rishanara, you've done a massive amount of work with young people, but would you say that politicians really listen to young people's needs?
I think many try very hard to listen to young people, but we need to do better. I want to see thousands and thousands of young people getting the skills and the capabilities that they need to get into positions of power in the future, and that's why I set up the charity Uprising.
What does the project mean to you?
I wanted to make sure that it wasn't by accident, but it kind of happened by design, that talented people from ethnic minority and white working class backgrounds who are often excluded, politically excluded from leading institutions, regardless of their talents, that they had the same opportunities as people from more privileged backgrounds.
So will Labour under Corbyn continue to back extending the vote to 16-year-olds?
Well, it is Labour Party policy. It's not good enough to ask young people to just register to vote. It's far more effective to have them involved in action, social action within their communities. We encourage the alumni of Uprising to go and get more and more people registered to vote. And we got about 8,000 young people, first-time voters, registered. But it shows what impact you can have if young people are leading the change and driving the change and working with other young people as well.
One of my main questions is, what can we actually do to get young people more engaged in politics, in your opinion?
I would say introducing politics into education, because politics you can only take from A-level. If it was introduced from an earlier age, it would just be common knowledge, and by it being common knowledge, it wouldn't feel so foreign.
If young people do get involved in politics, what kind of change can they make?
I think there's a lot of change that needs to be made, and first of all, perception, because a lot of the times young people are viewed in politics as not very important, but at the same time, young people don't vote. Because young people don't vote, politicians don't make policies that support young people.
So if anybody is watching your programme and thinking, I'm not really interested in politics, I really have nothing to add. Yes, you do. Challenge that. The reason why we don't have good policies is because you're not involved in politics.